So hi, one of the Good Noise podcasts. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with,
Pat.
And Chandler, and we're from the Violet Violence.
and we're gonna ask them some questions today about their new EP, Above the Echoes. I'm gonna start. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to it so far?
Pretty good. We're even though we're 2 years in as a band, we're pretty young, so it's good to hear people actually responding to our music.
Mhm.
So any response is kind of good. But hearing people sing some of the lyrics back and hearing from some publications and people who are digging it, it's really great to hear.
Awesome. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's really good. So is there any meaning behind the EP name or cover art?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, Above the Echoes is a lyric from the first track on the EP, Holding On to Living Long. So it's kind of a way of saying I'm going to rise above the negativity, which is kind of what that first song is about. So it's our way of really expressing like, hey, we're going to rise above the echoes of everything that people say. And so with that, the EP artwork sprung from some of the imagery that we got from our song Novocaine, which also had a music video attached to it, and which really speaks to some of the themes of the latter half of the EP, which is the deterioration of health, whether that's in a relationship or whether that's mental health. And I think those are like the two big topics that the EP deals with. So that's kind of where those two came from.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this EP?
Yeah, these songs have been in development for a while. Right when we became a band, we had most of these songs ready to go. And this was kind of our intro of like, as we get together, as we learn who each other is from a musicianship standpoint, we started putting these songs together. And that really spoke to like how we are able to, meld as a band.
Mhm.
Um, the writing process, some of these songs have been in development for 4 or 5 years. Some of them came
Jesus.
really quickly. It's neat. Like Second Wind, I think was the last song that was written for the EP, and it just I was on FaceTime with a friend and just kind of got the inspiration for that lick and those chords, and then the rest kind of followed after. And then every time that we had gotten together, and I think Chan can speak to this as well, and rehearsed, like something new came out of the ability to put the song together like in a room rather than in like a DAW. So like lyrics would start to make sense, or little pieces of the songs would start to really assemble themselves when we actually got in a room and played it together.
Hmm.
Okay.
So you said some songs were like 5 years old. That's older than the band. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So to speak to that a little bit,
Yeah.
our drummer
Mhm.
Brian, our lead guitarist Tim, and myself all went to college together.
Okay.
When I entered college in 2015, like late 2015, early 2016, we started a cover band together, and we had always written music together, but not a lot of it had been enough to get going. So we kind of always tabled it for another project.
Mhm.
So Sleep It Off, the last track, especially that main riff, has been working for probably since mid 2016. So it's
Wow.
really cool to hear it actually like be somewhere and get on a
Yeah.
professional recording and have it in people's ears, because it sounds nothing like what we intended it to.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But it still maintains like a little bit of integrity, which is cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. All right.
Yeah.
So can you tell me where your headspace is at while you're creating this record?
Mm. Chan, anything? I've been talking a lot.
Well, I mean, you wrote most of it, so
We
Fair.
have some questions for you, so it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is in the ability to say, "Hey, I'm creating in a more professional, in a more uh, productive outlet, where before we would all create individually, but now all of us are coming together." So for me, it was the ability to be cathartic in songwriting for the first time in like a batch of songs, to be
Mhm.
able to express things about positivity and negativity, about relationships and falling in love and breaking up, and dealing with your mental health, and having friends and being in a band together a little bit. Um, Being able to express all that on the art form in which we've chosen, which is music, and this genre, which is punk, is really where the headspace was a lot of like, how do we as young artists say like, this is what we're about. These are the things that we want to talk about that we think are important.
Okay, makes sense. So how do you recommend that your fans listen to the EP for the first time in the car with friends in the dark with headphones on? Is it a party EP? What do you guys think?
Chandler,
That's a
you
great
can answer
question.
this one.
I think the best way is to come see us live, and we'll play the whole EP for you.
Good answer.
But
That's
yeah,
good.
I had some friends listen together as like a group, and they said they all enjoyed it. So probably a group setting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that, or like I would, when we were getting like the mixes back, I would listen doing things around the house or exercising. I think like, at least for me, the music makes me want to move. If you see us live, you know that like we do not stand around. Like we were exhausted after like our second song. So for me, like I'm kind of like, go to the gym and listen to it. Like I think like there's a way that you can like get some inspiration running by listening to, you know, Sleep It Off, or like there's a bounce in Hard Up that we talk about all the time that like I feel like you have to move when you listen to it a little bit.
Okay. I'm going biking tomorrow, so I'll bike to it. I'll let you know how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one should be super, super quick. Off the top of your heads, I want you to describe this EP for new listeners in 3 words. Both of you have to do it.
Loud.
Okay, loud.
Definitely loud.
Yeah.
A word I've said before, cathartic. Like my hope is like, I definitely feel when I listen and when I sing these songs. I would say, I mean, energetic. Like there's really not a mellow track on the whole EP. I think that's a little bit intentional.
Solid.
I'd probably go with like, there's a lot of elements of love, so I'll go with love, and then there's also like hope with our opening track, Holding On to Living Long. And then for me, like playing a lot of these songs, there's a lot of like emotional release that I get out of singing some of these lyrics.
Okay.
Okay.
I love it.
Perfect.
So in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling you want your listeners to have while going through the EP?
I think for me, like I would say all feeling is good. Like I think a lot of people, something that as young people we struggle with is like, I'm not sure if I can feel this, or like I'm not sure if I'm ready to feel that, or like I'm not sure if I'm allowed to feel that. Like any feeling is good feeling. Like as long as you get it out into the open, like it's helping you process. So I'm like, you know, if you listen to these songs, regardless of whatever you feel, I think is important. So like, if you listen to Second Wind and you more in a previous relationship, or, you know, you listen to Sleep It Off and you are angry at your mental health, or you listen to Hard Up and you are falling in love, like just feel.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. So while listening through the EP, what band or artist influences pop out the most to you two?
Yeah. We get told a lot of different bands. We got Broadside the other day, and I was like, man, yeah. Like I hear that. We get the Wonder Years a little bit, which is ironic given some future things that we have coming out. And the hope is like that we can at least kind of stand up with some of our peers. People I think about are like Pink Shift and Again in May and Meet Me at the Altar, like
oh my god,
bands that we love. So like we just to be able to like be in the same scene as them and in the same environment.
It's very wholesome.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Chandler?
I've also heard The Offspring and like All Time Low.
So true.
Good bands.
What is your favorite memory that you guys made while creating this EP?
Was it this EP that we had the bean incident?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so whenever we're recording albums, we're always just really hanging out, just being friends while also trying to get work done. But I forget what song we were recording, but I just decided to yell beans instead of whatever lyric, and then we just made a whole like mix where I was just yelling beans constantly.
I think it was Second Wind, but Yeah, beans came up a lot in like the tracks that we never used, or like the vocal takes. That's a good one. I also love like the ability, like I think the first time all five of us were in a room together when we were able to track some things, or I think it was only once or twice. We recorded most of this like at the beginning of the pandemic, so it was a lot of questions of how do we do this safely. So a lot of us tracked our parts individually, but there were a couple times that we were all together, and that's, I think, where the process really like becomes what it is, where it's truly collaborative and we're able to be with one another. So that's a good memory that I can think of.
Awesome. How did you guys like adapt to recording in quarantine COVID times? Because I know you guys had that cover band where you guys were able to kind of jam together. So
yeah, it was strange. It was tough initially, because we weren't able to kind of provide each other with feedback that may have been helpful. Like especially for me, like I know I at least want one other member of the band with me when I'm vocal tracking, just for someone to be able to say like you're flat or you're late or like your diction's weird. So it was a little tough getting us all together. But it also, I think, it defined the abilities for us to, we were able to define what every band member does, where like everyone was able to take ownership of their parts. So this record specifically, in I guess in looking at the three singles that we released prior, that are not on this, which is kind of disjointed and recorded like at different times. This was like our first time of hearing our whole band on a record being like everybody knows what they're doing, everybody has specific parts, and like everyone's 20% of the five members is going into this sound and what it is.
Okay, I love that.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it also allowed us to just explore a little bit more, because like before, if we were just in rehearsal, we'd just be like, we have to rehearse, just play song after song. But now we could actually like analyze songs, be like, ooh, I think this would sound cool. What do you think, Pat? And then
yeah, there's more room for that together.
Definitely. It's really good. So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour, you're at a gas station, you're going in. What is your snack of choice?
I mean, I probably shouldn't, but I'm definitely getting hot fries. Andy Capp's hot fries.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that the other night coming home from our show. Mine is probably the pretzel M&Ms, the blue wrapper.
Oh, okay.
I could eat those over and over. I love those so much.
All right,
Good
solid
choice.
picks. So where do you see the band in the next 5 years?
I mean, definitely taking steps is our hope. We would like to, take the energy that we've gotten in the last year or so and take that to other states, take that to other places. One of my favorite things about being in a band is the ability to learn from other artists and be friends with other artists. So playing with as many people as we can, and also trying to define what the space is for everyone who makes punk music now. It's very interesting that like we, as a band of white males, started making punk music in this time when I think pop punk is finally starting to shift to where proper representation is happening.
Yep.
So how do we fit into that, and how do we kind of make space enough for the people who also need to be heard? And like my hope for the band is that we can, promote bills and be in spaces where we can always be lifting other people up.
It's good. True. It's a good response. All right. So for the last couple questions, we're actually going to shift away from music, if that's okay with you two.
Yeah.
Great. So we're going to go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
I think I'd go a Wagyu beef or a Wagyu bacon cheeseburger.
Oh, wow.
Expensive here.
Yeah, the most expensive cheeseburger.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Are you washing the most expensive cheeseburger down?
I kind of want to just be weird and say like a cheap beer like PBR.
Okay. Yeah, you got to balance it out. You can't go all out.
Yeah, I think I'd do like a wing split of like lemon pepper, honey barbecue, definitely with a beer. Like I've been drinking a lot of the Victory Easy Ringer, which Chan and I drank a lot when we were recording this summer. So So I think wings and beer.
All right.
Solid. Lemon pepper is
Yep.
superior. I just want to put that out
Isn't it?
there.
So good.
Mhm.
So if you could live in one fiction world for a week, where would you live?
Mm.
Well, right now I'm listening to Lord of the Rings on audiobook, so Lord of
Ooh.
the Rings, easy.
All right.
Solid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm watching Game of Thrones and it kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I want to if I could live in King's Landing, I'd be cool, but like in some of the other places it's kind of horrifying. So I might live in Game of Thrones in the nice district.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Answer.
All right. So I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question. What is your favorite color?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Being a band with a color in its name, it feels like we have to say violet or purple. And especially being from Baltimore, like loving the Ravens.
Mhm.
But I'll probably go with like a mint green.
Ooh,
Like
okay.
I see a mint green Telecaster,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I might sell my arm for that guitar.
I mean, yeah, that's
so, like,
fair.
Yeah, mint green.
Mint
All right.
green.
I mean, I don't want to be cliche, but it was purple before we even started this band.
Okay.
Solid. That's
Sounds
fair.
good. So as Glory said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you guys would like to plug?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, our socials are getting a little bigger. So checking us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, checking us out on our streaming services is awesome. We love having new listeners as well. I mean, just getting more into this genre, especially as it grows more diverse, listening to bands who are really, doing amazing things. I was listening to Nightlife New Low recently, which
So
is
fucking
I
good.
love Nightlife. Oh
so
my
good.
God.
amazing. I mean,
They're so good.
I'd say like find bands from Baltimore and Maryland. Like there's someone on Twitter the other day said like there's something in the water here, and like there really is. Like there are so many people who are so creative and doing so much down in this area. So please keep listening to those people. I'd say.
Yeah,
Anything you got, Chan?
Shout out to mom and dad.
Of course.
Yeah.
We also have some merch coming soon, online merch store in the works.
Yeah, that'll be coming out shortly.
And just to piggyback off of what Pat said before we sign off, I always thought the Jersey scene reigned supreme, and then Baltimore started coming out with just whack ass shit like
Yup.
every week, and it's like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
I think Maryland's doing it a little bit better than Jersey right now.
Just a
More
yeah.
real.
Yeah.
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 Well, thank you for now. This guy's been the Violet Violence, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.